Two Chairs No Waiting, episode number 821, Little Miss Mayberry Interview. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the fine folks over at WeaversDepartmentStore.com. Drop by over at Weavers and check out the new Mayberry keychains. We've only had those for a while. I think you'll like them. Definitely worth it. It says Mayberry on them. Go check those out. If you're looking for something to read in these cold weather times, The Essential Mayberry by Neil Brower is an amazing book. Definitely something you should reach out. And if you're planning on doing some traveling and stuff, check out the Mayberry Travel Guide. That's great, too, by Randy Turner. It was just upgraded in 2023. Still got great information. Lots of great stuff over at Weavers. Go over and check it out. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners like you. The executive producer of episode number 821 is Jim Sherrill. Hello, everybody. I'm Allan, Newsome, the host of Two Chairs No Waiting, and it is a great time to be in Mayberry. Always is. But we're going to be having some fun tonight. This episode is about an interview with Little Miss Mayberry. Now, you may be asking yourself, who's Little Miss Mayberry? Who in the heck is that? Well, on the cruise to Mayberry in 2023, our special guest was Joy Ellison. And she played several characters on the Andy Griffith Show that we will go through on this podcast that you'll be able to hear. But one of them was Mary Wiggins, who was Miss Mayberry Jr. or whatever the name you should have given her. She's the one that Floyd sang to, Opie's friend, that Opie had wanted to be Miss Mayberry. And Floyd sings to her at the end of the episode of the beauty contest. That's from season 1, episode number 16. Joy also appeared, as I said, as many other characters. Effie Muggins from The Christmas Story. She was Mary Scobey on Andy Forecloses. She was in later episodes or later seasons, Opie's Most Unforgettable Character, which was a color episode, as Iris. And she was in Opie's First Love, which was the first episode of the final season, where she... so she played Iris in that episode. I think I said that. But she also appeared as some background characters, and then later she appeared as Gomer Pyle. Now, you're going to hear all those stories in just a few minutes here. So, because that's just an example of all the Mayberry stuff that she did. But she did so many other professional acting credits. And she's also a dialect coach. And we'll hear what a dialect coach is as she goes through the interview. It was amazing to get to do this. The interview was again done in 2023 on the Mayberry Cruise. So if you've never been on the Mayberry Cruise, you might want to, think about going with us because they'll be having another Mayberry Cruise in 2025. Now, we never know if we're going to have more Mayberry Cruises or not, but in 2025 we're going to have the Mayberry Cruise that's heading to the Western Caribbean on the Carnival Valor. That's right. You can head over and check it out. You can go to the Facebook page for Mayberry Cruise. It's facebook.com/Mayberry Cruise, and you can find all the information there. But we're going to be selling out of New Orleans this year. I've never done that before, so that'll be fun. And we're going, it'll be October the 27th through November the 1st of 2025. Well, our special guest is going to be Dennis Rush this time, which Dennis has been on the podcast. He calls into the podcast. Great guy. Definitely something you'd want to be a part of. We're going to be going to Cozumel and Progreso, Yucatan. Never been to there. So it looks like a lot of fun with a couple of days at sea where we can just have fun as Mayberry folks and do stuff around there. We've got a great band going with us too. They went with us this past year. Cutter and Cash and the Kentucky Grass is going with us. Those guys have been on Grand Ole Opry. Definitely something you want to see. And, of course, tribute artists will be along with us, several of them, including Floyd, which is me, the host here at Two Chairs No Waiting. Allan Newsome, if I didn't tell you. It's going to be big. So I hope you're going to enjoy this interview. It's a long interview, so I'm going to quit talking now. There won't be any trivia. I'll be back at the end to wrap it up, but I hope you're really going to enjoy this wonderful interview with Joy. Joy is she is a super nice lady, and I know you're going to enjoy getting to hear from her. So here we go. So take it away, Joy. So, folks, let's give Joy a big hand and ask her to come on out. Well, folks, we I'm excited to get to do this because Joy, I met you several years ago at Mayberry Days, I think, and even got to sing to her and everything. So it's been a lot of fun just getting to know you over the last several years and just to see what all you've done in your career. We'll get to all that, but I kind of wanted to start kind of fairly early. There's a picture of her fairly young. That's not probably the youngest you were when you started acting. How old were you when you actually started performing?
I guess around 7.
7 years old?
Probably about that time, I guess. I was really mad at my mom that day, as you can see. No, that picture actually got me a lot of work. I think, whatever attitude I was pulling at the moment, I can't remember exactly, the photographers, professional photographers, and they'll say, okay, now pretend like you're looking at a kitten, or pretend like you're angry because you haven't had lunch, or whatever it is. I guess that was the lunch one. And, yeah, a lot of people love that picture. So it was fun. It worked for me. Worked well.
So, I don't know, what was your first acting job? Which one did you do first? Do you remember?
Well, it all kind of started out. Apologies to the folks that we had dinner with last night because we're going to hear a few things beforehand. But my parents were dancers. Actually, my father danced in a lot of the Fred Astaire films. Top Hat. I really can see a picture of him right next to Fred Astaire in Top Hat. It's a great source of pride for my family, who are all dancers except for me. And my mother was also a dancer, Ziegfeld. She was also a Rockette and did a lot of stuff like that. And so, but that was way before I was born. And my one sister, 19 years older, only 2 of us, and then I think that was a surprise. And by the time I came along, my dad was a fireman. He'd gotten out of show business completely, but my mom always kind of had it in her heart and sort of hoped that maybe I would do something. So she got me into doing, when I was really little, like baby beauty contests and stuff like that, and then doing extra work and things like that. So there was a period of time where I was doing a lot of extra work, or background work now it's usually called, where people don't speak, but you're still, at a certain point, at a certain level, you do need to join the union, and then it's like complicated, and you shouldn't really do both, but you kind of do. I did as a little kid. And then it just moved into doing speaking roles. But I did a lot of extra work. I think maybe the first one that I remember is an old movie called Toby Tyler. It was a Disney movie. It was a...
with a monkey? Yeah, the monkey.
Yeah, I think it was a circus. They were in a circus or something. And but I did a lot of big things. I did big, lots of people in it. I don't know what big roles, but one of the ones I really remember was Music Man. I was on Music Man for a long time. And then later on in college, I did. It was so funny to think that I was, as a little kid, I got to do the movie, and as an older person, I got to do the stage show. But it was really fun, and especially if everybody remembers that movie, the part where they do that big sort of acrobatic dance number in the gym of all the gymnasts flying around and stuff. I was just out of my mind, crazy, enthralled with all that. And then all the people walking down the street, 76 trombones, that whole thing was really fun. And I think Ron was in that.
Yeah, Ron Howard was in that.
Yeah, and that was really a lot of fun. The Great Escape, The Great Race. The Great Race. A lot of those big, when there were lots and lots of people that were extras involved in big crowd things, they always had little kids sort of peppered throughout the crowd, and so I did a lot of that kind of stuff.
And you were old enough to remember? You remember all of those?
I do. I do remember. Well, not all of them, but I remember some of them.
The Great Race, was that the one? I mean, it had everybody. The Three Stooges were in it. There were special appearances by everybody. Is that the right?
Yeah, there were a lot of.
Who did you get to meet? Did you meet people?
My mom was always asking me to go get autographs from people. So that happened a lot. I think Tony Curtis was. Tony Curtis? I don't know. It's a little vague.
Well,
and you're a little kid, you don't really appreciate it. And then as I got older, I looked back and saw who was. The first, the question you asked me. I think for the first thing that I remember doing was Joey Tyler. The first acting thing where I actually spoke was probably the Andy Griffith Show. Maybe.
Well, that leads right into that. The Christmas Story. The Christmas Story, the one we watched this morning before the Bible study, it was in December the 19th, 1960s when it actually aired. And that was, you were Effie.
Yeah.
Effie Muggins.
I was 6.
And there she is. There's a picture of that. Yeah, so you remember this pretty well. You remember it.
I got to eat.
You got to eat. Yeah, when we talked to Clint Howard before, he was younger a little bit than you were, but he doesn't remember. He's 5, so he's like, I don't remember anything. Or he remembers being on set, but you actually remember being part of everything.
Yeah, I do remember, and I remember Andy being really nice. And everyone was really nice, and there was a classic thing if people come up and say, well, okay, we're gonna take those freckles, we're gonna draw a line, play connect the dots. Or, they're always joking about my freckles and things like that. And of course, they loved it when I lost a tooth. That would seem to be work to my advantage. Every time I lost a tooth.
Yeah.
Joy,
Yes.
I just wanted to share with you guys, since I asked Joy, with the Christmas episode, when Ben Weaver gives her the doll, I said, please tell me you got to keep the baby doll, and she did.
Well, I bought a nickel for every time somebody asked me that.
You say that doll in the episodes.
So yeah, that's one of the of course, the inconsistencies in the Andy Griffith Show. Here's the pictures we had. This is from the black and white version, but there's actually a color version of that similar picture. Because they actually did take pictures on set at the time when they were doing it. So that was how they knew some of this stuff. They knew what colors, like the dresses and stuff, were when they actually did the colored version of the Andy Griffith Show. They colorized this version. But this is one of the special episodes, obviously, and you're in it. That's really, there's only one Christmas episode in the entire 249 episodes of the Andy Griffith Show. And there you were, a big part of it.
I'm really proud of you now. Everybody loves it.
So then the next episode she was on was Mayberry Goes to Hollywood. That's the one. And this was just January, right after that one. Now, in this one though, she's just a uncredited child in the street. And so if you look there in the bottom left-hand corner, there she is.
I can't see her.
Yeah, well, I can shoot it right there. So she's right there in it. Let's see if I can. Now zoomed in so you can see. Do you remember anything about this at all? You didn't really have any speaking parts in this particular episode.
No, like I said, when they peppered the crowds with little kids, it was really common. And if I got lucky, I got to have a dog or, do something along with it. There was always some mom or dad holding my hand and walking around. So
there's the scene. There she is. You better watch real close. And that's it. There you go. Congratulations. She was in one other shot, but that's the best screenshot I could get. Right there. Where she was in the scene where they were going to cut down the tree. That's when this was. And they were, Lydia, or whichever Miss Pike's, Juanita Pike was singing sweet acting to the producer.
one other thing, I'm sorry, Alan, just one other thing to also may or may not know is that labor laws are very strict with kids, and they become even more so, I believe, over the years. So every kid who is of school age and still has to have at least 3 hours of schooling. So when they're doing a production with kids, it's really tricky because they only have them for so many hours, and 3 of those hours are by law taken up with schooling. So sometimes they have to shoot these scenes really quickly when they've got a lot of kids. And so there isn't a lot of time to remember anything. You're just in there for a couple of hours and then you're home. That's it.
Yeah, I figured that. It was a lot of standing around and waiting on them to film something, probably. All right, so then, well, there she is. I zoomed in again where you can see where she was. But then she was on again just a couple of weeks later. So you worked at least filming at some point fairly regularly on that set with them.
Yeah.
So this was January 23rd of '61. So we started off in December. Now we're just a few later. And this time, of course, she's not credited, but she's Mary Wiggins in this one because she comes in. We'll watch this episode later, but she comes in at the end of the episode. Basically, is where this happens, and they crown her Miss Mayberry, and Floyd sings to her. So do you remember anything about that particular scene? Do you remember when they filmed it, or Howard McNear?
Oh, yeah, I do, absolutely. And I always thought Floyd was so funny and just so nice, and he was so, like, I don't have to tell you, you are Floyd. It was, and when I watch the episodes now, he's the one I really gravitate to. And I think especially maybe after studying acting and doing all that for so many years, he has he's just got his own world going on, Floyd. I'm not going to tell you all because we've seen these a million times, but he's so fascinating to me. And I was really, it was really an honor. I remember that very distinctly.
That was just a great shot. That whole scene is funny. It's always fun to see this. And of course, that's Floyd's hat. They punched it and made it upside down to make the crown. And I think that's probably the apron, the hair cutting they put around it, if I remember right. So, of course, I'm always wanting to hear what happened with Floyd. So that's always good with Howard McNear. And the other actors have mentioned over the years that he was like the character on the show. That he behaved like that even normally. So he acted like that. Oh yeah, he was always like that. Because George Lindsay had mentioned he liked to come and watch Howard work even when he wasn't working that day. He would come and watch. So the next episode you were on was Andy Forecloses, which is just a little bit later in the year. Still, that's first season, and you're married in this one. So you marry Scobey. So there's where you did Lobster 2. And we're going to watch this again in a few days here.
I think this one's my favorite.
This is a really good episode. And you got to do a good bit in this episode. But that's really the only thing. Do you have any memories or anything of that episode different? You'd worked. Well, 2 of those episodes you worked with Margaret, Carrie, and do you have any memories of working with Margaret? Because she was your mom?
Yeah, she was super nice, but as you all know, my mom in 2 different episodes, 2 different families.
Right.
So, we had a little inconsistency there. I don't know what the producers thought, no one's going to notice.
Yeah, they went into witness protection after being arrested. That's what happened. Changed their names. That's it.
But there weren't a lot of other little girls that I ever worked with on the show. It's just, just the episode we all just watched. So, I do remember those. Again, I got to eat a lot of cookies, which is fun. And everybody was super, super nice to me. And, it just felt really easy to be happy and genuine. And that's all they want when you're a little kid. You just be yourself.
Yeah, the cookies. Do you remember who made the cookies? Do you know any?
No.
So the story is Lee Greenway. He was one of the makeup guys. Yeah, he would bake cookies. At least that's the story we've always heard, and bring them on set. So that may have been where the cookies came from. That's the reason. That's why I was asking. We don't know if it was Lee Greenway or not, but it was. But it could have been. But where it got the cookies. So the next thing that she did was not for several years. So she did a whole lot. You got to do a whole lot of stuff here in that first season, and then they bring you back. What happened?
I'm upset somebody now. They just didn't write anything in for a little girl.
Yeah, it's too bad. Yeah, so it was in 1967 when Opie's most unforgettable character episode occurred. And this was toward the end of that season. And we've got a video clip for this because she's only in a little bit of this, but if you look in the scene, it's one of the early scenes in the episode. There she is sitting in the classroom. She's one of Opie's classmates, which makes sense. And there she is. She stood up to answer a question. So So that was that scene, and of course, so you had an uncle that had one blue eye. That's it. So
I didn't write it.
yeah, that's right. You didn't write it. Do you remember anything about that? That was a pretty short scene. You probably only did a few takes because more than likely the way they filmed it, you can tell they filmed both of those at the same time. You just sat down and stood back up and did it again, right?
Yeah, they probably filmed the whole thing. They film the whole scene and then break it up.
Right, for those shots.
Yeah. But Sheldon, kid Sheldon, I think he's a dentist in Los Angeles, isn't he?
In Colorado Springs.
Oh, Colorado Springs.
Yeah. Sheldon Glow. He's never been to Mayberry Days. He came to a Mayberry rendezvous up in Ohio one time. So I got to meet him once.
He comes with Joe.
Yeah, maybe
that
he
was
did.
Joel's.
Yeah, maybe he did.
Were you there that scene? I was there, I know. That was the first time. I was trying to think of his name last night. That's what it was, Joel. Yes, he was there. That's the only time I ever met him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was there, yeah. It was cold.
Oh
my goodness. It was so cold that night. It was outside at an amphitheater and it was cold.
And it never gets that cold.
Not in Alabama. No, it was as cold as it got that winter, I think, in October. So basically, this was a fairly short shoot for you, probably, and it was toward the end of the season, so you probably don't have too much that you remember from this particular episode. That's what I figured. So then the next season, the very first episode, they had her back again, and this is the one we just watched. So we've seen this, the whole episode. And there you are. Do you have any memories of this? Because you did it a lot more in this way, or had
serious drama on my face.
Do you have any memories of this one?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Suzanne at the time and I kind of hung out. And then when we met at Mayberry Days, it was really funny. It was like there was a little old connection there between us. Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah, well, yeah, because in this one, at least you had somebody, another girl to be working with that you said you didn't have when you were in the younger class, or when you were younger,
Yeah.
they didn't have any other little girls, it was basically you.
Yeah, and we so young people would say to me, well, did you stay friends with Opie? I was never really friends with Opie. We'd do our scene and then go in different directions because we're that age. It was like, ew, boys, ew, boys, that kind of thing. We never really hung out or talked to each other much or anything. He would just sort of tell us what to do, we do it, and then that's it.
So yeah, this was of course we just watched it, so we didn't say. So how were the rollers? Was that a thing you really did back then? Was that everybody rolled their head? And then when the guy came and knocked on the door, you had to get a thing to cover.
Oh yeah, you never tell they were rollers under those.
I was just like, yeah, did he not seal? I mean, he was still there.
Oh yeah, you see people out in the street and you think, oh my gosh, she's really wearing her rollers in a market.
I mean, I knew people rolled hair. But...
How long were you in the makeup chair in that scene?
Oh, how long
In
were
this
you in
one?
makeup?
Yeah.
Oh, probably, well, it took a while to do the rollers, of course,
Right.
you know. And they did a fair amount of makeup too. The makeup is a lot depending on the lighting and the camera type, the film type, because certain cameras and lighting and film types respond differently to the skin tone. So even though I was, they look like we're sort of similar skin tone, but she's a more olive kind of complexion, and mine was always really, really fair. They always had to put a ton of makeup on me because I think I got washed out or something. They were always coming up putting more and more and more and more. So, yeah, and my hair was always a problem because it was always like sticking out or not enough of it to do anything with. So there was always somebody kind of tweaking with my hair, pulling the braids or tightening the braids or doing the braids again.
So was there any, at the age you were, was there any, I'm going to be on TV with all these rollers in my hair? Was that an issue?
Yeah, you know what, when I went in high school, I'd come back to school the next day, and of course, way back then, we had only a few channels, right? So people would see something, and almost everybody would see it. Something would be on, almost everybody would see it. There were only a couple of other options. So I come to school the next day, I was like, oh, we saw you on TV last night. You had rollers in your hair. So it's like, yeah. I mean, it was okay, but it was that high school thing, you know, where it's like, I just want to be like everybody else. I just want to blend.
Well, I wondered about that because, I know at that age, when I was watching the boys getting ragged about having a girlfriend, and I was just thinking, yeah, boy, that was a horrible time, really, when you were going through that. Trying to call some girl and ask her out on a date was absolutely horrible, you know. I don't know what you thought was going to happen, but it was terrible. You look at the phone, and pick it up, put it back down, pick it up, put it back down. So I just wondered if it was a similar thing, because you guys were, like you said, you're on TV. People are seeing you every later. So.
Allan, you're talking from experience with that telephone?
Oh yeah. You go an hour and a half trying to get the courage to call somebody. Yeah, pick up the phone, put it back down. Walk around. What am I going to say? What if their mom answers? All of that. Yes. So we got. You had those on your head to cover up, make sure you couldn't tell. And of course, there's Fred. He comes in the door. Well, they're both,
Yes.
just barely up. So she went through the entire Andy Griffith Show there. So she was in all those different seasons. So you're in 3 different seasons of the Andy Griffith Show. That was your last appearance on there. But then you went on to do other things. You've done a lot of other things. But the one I want to talk about is the Gomer Pyle episode we're going to watch later. And it's called Luv Finds Gomer Pyle. And it was not long after that episode, really not too long after it. And so we're going to get to watch this. So you guys, if you haven't seen it, it's really good. You did a great job at this thing. So how old were you at these time frames? Were you 13, 14?
14, probably 13, 14, something like that.
So in this, you play a character. Your character kind of falls for Gomer. That's what it's about, right? So but she thinks she and Gomer are having a relationship going. What was that uncomfortable? I mean, you were 14, 15, 13, whatever and he's a grown man, and you're having to act like that.
Well, I mean, it was character, and that's what you do, and he was such a nice guy. It was so easy to do all those scenes with him. And he, like a lot of shows, they work with the same actors all the time, so if somebody new comes in, it's kind of a breath of fresh air. And even me, even though I was just a dorky kid, he said to me his Christmas album had just come out. And he said to me, I have a new album. And I said, oh, I didn't know you sang. He said, would you like to hear it? And I said, sure. And we went over and he put it on the record player. He played it for me and I thought, that's your voice. He said, yeah. And I said, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's wonderful. And he was really happy. And he was really happy that I liked it. And then he autographed it and gave it to me, which was really nice.
Wow.
It's very nice. And he couldn't have been nicer, super kind, and if there was somebody said something, he said, hey, sure you understand, we're going to just do this, and don't worry about it, I'll walk in, and you just look back at me, and, sort of kind of worked it through the scene with me, which was really nice. And he was super, super, super nice. So it was a pleasure. It was really easy.
I can imagine. I've met him a few times. He was very, very nice. So I can see how he could try to put you at ease. Because it seems to me, as a young woman, young lady, that would just be a little uncomfortable. You're love interest is a 30-year-old guy or whatever it is.
Yeah, but I don't know, I think little girls do that. I mean, I had actors that I thought, Dr. Kildare, Chamberlain. Oh my gosh, I thought he was like the most handsome, wonderful guy I'd ever seen. I was really actually younger than this. So I don't think it was, that sounds kind of strange nowadays, but you had crushes on older actors or teachers or something like that. It's not like you're going to do anything about it, but he's, that's, you still have that sort of thing, like, oh, when I grow up, I want to marry somebody like him, that sort of thing.
So during the episode, she keeps interrupting basically Luann and Gomer's dates. Kind of shows up. You're going to enjoy this. Definitely come and make sure you watch this. So again, not long after that, you're on Dragnet twice, actually. 2 different Dragnet episodes. This is the first one, I think, where you played. Yeah, and then those very next season, I think, is what. Let's see, that is it. Yeah, season. So that's season 3, episode 2, and then she is in season 4, episode 8. She plays a completely different character.
Oh, wow.
You know, and really, I could see that they wouldn't recognize that was the same person. They did a good job making you look different. So do you have any memories of that?
Yeah, that was a really interesting show because, his name's not, I had a lead guy. Jack Webb, thank you. He was a producer, writer, and everything. He was really, really busy, and I'd never worked with an actor before that used a teleprompter. But he had a teleprompter, which was a little machine that ran his dialogue kind of on a loop. It was like it would come up and he could read it. So if he was looking at me reading dialogue and the camera was on him, I would be standing there, but he'd be reading this dialogue off of this little machine. And I thought that was the strangest thing I'd ever seen. I've never seen an actor do that before, then or since. But he was so busy, he just didn't have time to sit and learn lines, I guess. And his whole thing was, he was really, he wanted the police to be really, really, really kind of down and direct and very serious. And then these character actors, like myself and the other people, would have the drama and the flamboyance and everything like that. They'd get excited about something. But he was very, very direct about what he wanted. He was a really nice man. You could tell he was very busy and very direct and taking prisoners.
Well, he must have liked you. He had you back 2 seasons like that, so you must have impressed him. Yeah, I always loved Dragnet anyway. The monotoneness of it. I told people I listen to podcasts when I go to sleep at night, and Dragnet's when you can just download Dragnet radio shows, and they're all like really easy to go to sleep.
I suffered a lot at school after one of them where I was accused of being a shoplifter, and they stole the bra. And so they went to school the next day. I was like, really? You stole a bra? Oh my gosh.
Jealous, they were just all jealous.
Yeah, that's what my parents said.
So you went on and did all these different shows here. Room 222, anybody remember that? Karen Valentine. The Headmaster, it's on there twice for some reason, but it's Headmaster with Andy. Here we go again, Obsessed with Love. Murder, She Wrote. You see as they start going. In Highway to Heaven, you were on 2 episodes, but it was a 2-parter, I think, because you played the same. You're a crew member.
Crew member. It's a crew member.
Yeah, a crew member. And then.
Murder, She Wrote was kind of funny. We'll stop for a second on that one. Because it was an episode where there was a celebrity hypnotist, and they would get people out of the audience, and I was one of the people brought up on stage to be one of the contestants, but one of the hypnotized people, and we had to act like animals, and mine was the chicken. So in the audition, they said, we need to have you act like a chicken. And so I guess I did a good enough chicken. when it came to being hypnotized, I could still keep acting like a chicken. I think in the episode it's very, very small and it's kind of back, but it was pretty funny. People said the same thing, you know. You were acting like a chicken.
You'd like to show us how you did it.
Demonstrate. Come on. Never repeat the brilliance of that.
Was that the most strange thing you ever had to audition to act like? Do you remember?
No, the strangest audition I remember was a commercial audition. Oh, it was one of those things. It was just a crazy thing. I was somewhere, it was really hot, it was LA, and I was somewhere and I was in shorts, and my agent called and said, quick, can you get to this address, blah, 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 in 20 minutes? And I said, well, I can't, I'm in shorts, I'm on a mess. They said, just go, it doesn't matter. And I said, what do you mean it doesn't matter? Just go. And I got there, and there's this huge office full of people, all these other actors standing there waiting. And I thought, gosh, everybody looks so different, and what are they doing, and who knows? And they bring me into the room, and they say, okay, put this on. And it was a 40-pound bear suit that all those other actors had been. They get in it, and then there was a head on the bear. And they said, we want you to dance to this song, and then at the end of it, take the head off. And so the song was Springtime for Hitler from the producers. Now, springtime for Hitler and Germany. Deutschland is happy and gay. It was the stupidest thing I'd ever seen. This dumb bear, and I'm, just dancing like a bear, whatever a bear dances like. And at the end, I took off the head. So, that was the strangest audition I think I've ever been.
Did you get it?
No. It was for Toyota or something. Some crazy car.
Wow.
Was that crazy? A crazy car commercial. I don't know.
Wow. That's cool.
That's one I remember.
So, any other memories of any of those other shows or movies or anything you've done? I know Wayne's interested that you were in some Elvis movies.
Oh yeah, when I was really little, I did. I was just an extra in one, Roustabout, just another big crowd scene in the carnival, running around, which was always so much fun as a kid because a carnival's a carnival, even if it's a movie carnival. Right? It was really exciting, and you get to eat cotton candy. Probably it was most about the food, and then the other one, they brought us to Disney and taught a whole bunch of these little kids how to sing a song in German, the Wooden Heart song. And we were, he was in Germany in his uniform, and he comes to this puppet show out in the park. And there's all these little kids singing this German song, which was a common folk song, I guess, in Germany. And so we all had to learn how to sing the song. And it was sort of funny to remember because nobody spoke German. We were all American kids, California kids. And to teach us the song, they had to make little drawings. The beginning of the song they taught it to us as Musi Dam. So they put Musi, like a moose, a picture of a moose, and a Y, Musi. And then Dam was like a wall with water coming over it, like a dam, Musi Dam. And then Zoom, which was Z-O-O-M, and they put a lightning rod, Zoom Schley, and then a sleigh going in the snow, sleigh. And it was sort of like all in pictures. And that's how we learned the song. And then many years later, I lived in Germany for a while, and I learned German properly, and I thought, wait a minute, that song is totally wrong. They taught us, it should have been muss ich dann, so schnell hinaus. And then what they taught us was muss ich dann, so schnell hinaus, but with 20 little kids singing, all you really heard was the melody more than anything. So I guess we got away with that. GI Blues. And then the beginning was the part. Oh, yeah, that's a great story. Yeah, that's a great story. So my mom was always saying, should go get that person's autograph. You should go get this lady's autograph. You should go get that person's autograph. And I was just a kid, like I didn't know one person from the other. And Elvis, and I'm like 7 or whatever. And she said, and I had this little autograph book. I don't know if they even make them anymore, but they had colored pages on them, and you get an autograph, and then you turn over the page like you'd already done that page. And I had an open page on my book, and she said, you should go get his autograph. And I go, okay. And I go over, and I have my pen, and I said, can I please have your autograph? And he said, well, sure. And he gave me his autograph to Joy, Love Elvis. I said, can I have another one? He went, okay. And I said, it's from my friend Chris. And he said, dear Chris, love Elvis. And put it on there and gave me the autograph, went into the book, went into a drawer, and a million years later, I'm going through some stuff, and I thought, oh, look at that old autograph book. I wonder what's in there. And I'm looking, and I see, wow, look at this. There's Elvis and Fred Astaire and da-da-da, all these people and stuff. And then it just happened to be my best friend, Chris, same Chris, who I'd asked for the autograph for, was turning 50. And I thought, oh, is this not the best gift I could give anybody ever? So I had it all framed up beautifully, and I gave it to her, and she almost fell over. And I think her husband cried. It was really cool to be able to do that.
Joy, tell them about all of Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, I worked on, I actually auditioned for the Birds, but I didn't get it. But I was lucky enough to be in one of 13 episodes that he actually directed of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And it's an episode called Bang You're Dead. And it's with, it was with Billy Mumy, another kid actor.
Austin's Page. He was Will Robinson.
Yeah, and he, what happens is he goes out and plays cowboy all the time with a little cowboy hat and his little toy gun. He goes around the neighborhood, like shoots a tree, shoots people, and everybody goes, oh, go, Tony, whatever. And then his uncle comes back from a trip. It's all of Hitchcock's shows had a message, right? So the uncle comes back from a trip, and the little boy knows the uncle always brings him a toy or a treat or something. And he goes up and he digs through his suitcase, unbeknownst to the uncle, finds a real gun, takes his toy gun out, and says, I want that one, I want this one, puts it in. And so we, the audience, know, of course, typical Hitchcock suspense, we know that now he's got a real gun. And he goes around and he pretend to shoots the gun with different things like this. And he comes to the supermarket, and outside there's one of those little horses that you put a dime in, you get to ride the horse. And he's on it, and I come over with my daddy, and I say, Daddy, I want to ride the horse. Daddy, I want to ride the horse. And this dad comes up to this kid who's not really riding the horse, he's just on it. And he says, oh, pal, do me a favor, man, we got to take care of these women. They're all a little nuts or something like that. So he gets off the horse, but he looks at me, he takes the gun, and they mounted the camera on the gun to just give that extra bit of kind of, oh my God, is he going to shoot her? Is he going to shoot her? And I'm just on the horse, thanks, Daddy, whatever. And then it goes on. But it was just that one little scene. Sorry for pulling that whole story, but it was really, I really liked that episode. And of course, it's about gun violence and kids and keeping that stuff away, being safe for kids. And again, my mom said, you should get Mr. Hitchcock's autograph. He was very intimidating. He was a large man, always wore a suit, and used to sit a lot in sort of an intimidating way like this. And I went over to him and I said, Mr. Hitchcock, can I have your autograph? And he said, no. But you may. So it was always, it's a little grammar lesson to the difference between and may.
He didn't call his little outline.
He did, that's it, yeah, he did. He drew a little outline, it's like that if you remember the show, at the beginning there was that sort of outline of a man. That's what he did for his autograph. Pretty cool.
Word has, oh, this was not the only one that wrote down.
Oh, yes. Well, I've always loved horses and, been riding all my life and everything. And I worked in a silly little show called Camp Run Amok, I think, at the last season. And it was about a little girls' camp. And it was at the same place where the opening sequences for Andy Griffith, Franklin Canyon. Yeah. And they had these two girls' camp and one single boys' camp, and I got to ride a horse. I was so excited. And then they said, "Can anybody ride a cow?" I was like, I never rode a cow, but I'd never done it. But ride anything, I was there. So I got to ride a cow, and it was really weird. It was very strange. It's big bone, and it's like their skin is really slippery on top of their back and everything. I stayed on. I got to ride a cow. That was big fun.
That's cool. So they filmed it at Franklin Canyon.
Yeah.
That's cool too. Yeah, because that's one of the few places that's still around from the Andy Griffith Show that people can go and actually go where Andy and Opie walk at the beginning of the episodes, right there. And there's a lot of things around it. If you ever want to go there, there's some podcast episodes you should watch that tell you, I videoed it and everything, showing people, here's where this is, so you can go and see it.
Cool.
So yeah, so it's really a neat place to go visit. So.
It's really amazing that it's remained untouched. It's right in the middle of a very popular area.
That's the state park. It's the Franklin Canyon Reservoir is a state. It's either state or city, but yeah, it's actually the reservoir is where he threw the rock in, and it's open. It's an open reservoir, so and it's got an earthen dam, so they've reduced the water levels a lot. So where Opie actually threw the rock, it's just grown up in that area where the water would have been, but because the water levels are lower. But it's easy if you go there and stand in the right spot, look through your phone. Oh yeah, this is it. It's really easy to spot, except for the piece of wood that's laying on the ground. It's not there anymore.
Wonder what happened to that?
It's probably been gone for a while. So she's been to Mayberry Days, as we said, and this is where we got to crown her as Miss Mayberry at Mayberry Days. And Margaret was there, and you got to meet back up with Margaret after a long time. Y'all got to kind of read.
She's great.
Yeah,
She's a great story.
She is an amazing lady. She was on the cruise with us about 6 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And it amazes me. I hope I can do half that much when I'm half her age. You know, I mean, I'm barely.
And you all know the story about her husband and how they met.
Oh yeah, her husband. Yeah.
Sweetest.
Yeah. So there's Neil Broward did an interview with you at Mayberry Days, and I'm not pretending to be as good as Neil's event, but this is good. But then you got into doing all this dialect coaching, and do I have? Yes, that is a sample of all the people she's helped coach over the years, and that's just a sample. You just keep reading, you'll find names you know in there. It's like, so how did you get into doing the dialect?
Well, I was always kind of fascinated with how people spoke and languages and stuff like that. I think it really started. My dad came home one day and he said, "Okay, we're going to take a family trip to Mexico." And I'm like, "Mexico? That's another country." It's 2 hours away from LA. But yeah, he says we're going to have to learn a little Spanish before we go. And we thought, oh my gosh, we're going to learn Spanish. And every night he'd teach a few words to my mom and I. It'd be like buenos dias, gracias, and como estás. Like the worst gringo Spanish you could possibly imagine. So I was my cheeky kid self. We go down there, and I guess it was probably 12 or something. And we go down, and I say, buenos dias to somebody. And somebody said, oh, muy bien, pero es buenos días. And I went, buenos días. Ay, sí, muy bien, mejor. And I said, gracias, gracias. And I went, gracias. Sí, ay, mira, escucha, está muy bien. And she said, people, I think I got so much attention, which of course the kids like, and that I was doing whatever I had learned from my dad, I could just bend it a little bit and make it sound better, and everybody was so appreciative of that. And something clicked in my head, I think, I got this Spanish thing. I can do this. So a few years later, when we got to take it in school, I immediately was so excited to be able to speak Spanish. I sat in front and I listened to everything and I tried to repeat everything perfectly. And it was just something I really felt like I just clicked with me. It was good. And then I took other languages and things like that. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a dialect coach. And then I went to theater school. And as part of your training in theater school, you learn basic dialects of British and German, French, and these other things. And my fellow classmates would all say, hey, you're pretty good at that. Can you help me with this? And can you help me with that? And can you do this thing with me? And teach me, can you record this for me? And that sort of thing. And I thought, I guess I can kind of do that. And then one dear friend who was a dialect coach, and she said, you should really think about doing this professionally. And I thought, what? I can't really be doing that. And she said, yeah, come to my house on Saturday morning, sit in on my little class that I have, and maybe if I go out of town, you can take over for me. And I thought, yeah, whatever. And I turned up, and there were 3 or 4 people sitting around her little dining room table in this little tiny apartment, and going, man, Fran, can, Dan, Stan, and I thought, shoot me now. I would never want to do that every Saturday morning and jump off a cliff. And she said, you have such a good ear. I said, yeah, well, thanks very much, but I don't think that's for me. Life goes on, years go on, we stay friends, this coach and I, and I'm living in Germany. I moved to Germany, married a German, seemed like a good idea at the time. And I'm living in Hamburg, and this friend, is doing a film in Berlin, and she calls me and she goes, Joy, can you please just come for a few days and help me, because I don't have time to work with this other actor. And you have such a good ear, I think you could just jump in and it'd be okay. And at the time, unfortunately, my marriage wasn't going too well, and I thought, yes, get me out of the house. And I went to Berlin, and it was Isabella Rossellini, who was still a dear friend and an angel, and she needed to be German, I think it was, and which was a big stretch. And but I had been teaching English and doing some other things in Germany, so I could kind of do that in my sleep. And we became good friends, and she said, oh, please can you stay for the rest of the film? I'll get us a flat, you could bring your dog, and I said, done. And we had a great summer in Berlin, and worked on a bunch of stuff. And she said, can you please come and do the next project with me? I said, yeah, that's happy too. And she kind of dragged me around Europe for a few projects, and then I came home and just started over. The first day I was on the set as a coach and not an actor, it was a completely different experience. I obviously was comfortable on sets and everything, but it was a completely, people were really responding to me as if they really needed me. I felt needed and appreciated in a completely different way. And it just went, dang, I thought, oh, that's great. And I didn't have to worry about learning any lines, I didn't worry about being on a diet. I can do this, and I love it. So it just kind of flipped, on a dime in a way. And then I had to start over, of course, in LA. And when it sort of starts by word of mouth at first. Somebody tells somebody else about you and that sort of thing, or a virtuous person or a director or somebody. And then you get an agent, and then it sort of goes on from there. And at first you just get sort of trickle down stuff nobody else wants to do, like everybody starts as a rookie. And then you start getting more and more better jobs and working with people, and people ask for your help. Really only decently Spanish and German, but I've studied Italian and French and Japanese. Actually, my mom put me in a Japanese school when I was a little kid because my best friend, the one Chris, the autograph friend, she's Japanese Chinese, and so we just grew up together. I went to Japanese school with her, but that didn't last long. It was on Saturday, first of all. Who wants to go to school again on Saturday? And she wouldn't let me cheat off her test. She kept me going there. I said, "You learn your lessons?" No, you better learn it yourself. So it didn't last too long. Japanese.
Where'd you go to theatrical school?
I went to, actually, it's not going to sound very exotic, but at the time, Los Angeles City College Theater Academy was a very prominent theater school. I just actually remember my friend Jackie was here with me. It was a very well-respected school, and if you look at the roster of alumni, there's a lot of people who went there. It was a really good training program. I went there, and then I went to another school called ACT, which is in San Francisco, American Conservatory Theater. And once I started doing the dialect stuff, then I went back to UCLA, did linguistics and things like that. I took a lot of language courses.
Got off on working with Randy Quaid.
Oh, wow, Randy Quaid.
Did you help him with the name?
Randy Quaid, I met coaching a film called Brokeback Mountain, and which is a film I truly am so proud to have worked on. And he, well, I have to back up to, we gotta back up a little bit on this one, because he was lovely. He was a big teddy bear guy, wanted to work, wanted to do dialect, and he was so much fun. He was really good at it, and he picked it up really quickly. Then it turned into a thing where every time he got a role, Effie would get on the phone. She goes, "Randy needs you, Joy. Randy needs you. He's working on this thing. You need to come up to the house. We need to work on this stuff." And I did coach him on something where he played Colonel Parker, I believe, in an Elvis TV movie. It was an Elvis TV movie, I think. And I also worked with Cameron Manheim, and he was lovely, and we worked on that. And then he called me to work on something that we wanted. It was a movie about two kind of like criminals, and one's a hitman, and he gets the other criminal as his hit. He's going to give him one last day to go around and say goodbye to whoever he wants to say goodbye to. It's kind of a dark movie. And he says, "I just want to do something different with this." I don't know what. I said, "What do you want to do?" You can do anything. Nothing in the script says you are or not from anywhere. He says, "Let's do Australian." So I said, "Okay." So we worked on it, and he did a great job. And it's a little weird kind of quirky film called Real Time, REEL. And it's actually pretty good. It's a pretty good little film, and he just jumped right in and did it. He was lovely.
Well, she's really good at what she does. She's been working on my southern accent for years. I asked her if I had it down. She thought I had it, so she told me it may be days 1 year.
The Hungarian slip.
Well, we are so glad that you were here with us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for spending it. Folks, thanks. Give her a big hand and thank her for being here. All right, so we're back. Wow, that is great. I hope you enjoyed that interview. I hope it didn't bother you too much. There were some noises there that happened during the recording because it was in a big room that they have there on the cruise ships, where they have performances and stuff. And there were people at a bar back there setting things up at the beginning. If you heard the glasses clanking, they were fixing drinks, mostly water and stuff for people, but they were fixing things, and you were hearing some of the glasses. Hopefully that didn't distract you too much, and hopefully any other noises like people talking or anything like that, all of that was recorded live in that room. So hopefully it was good enough. And I think based on the content that you just heard, I believe that the slight imperfections in the audio hopefully makes it all worth it. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I want to thank Joy for allowing us to do that interview. And I really want to thank you for being here with us on Two Chairs No Waiting. It's always fun to be here. I'd love to hear from you. You can give me a call at 888-684-8415. You can email me at floyd@imayberry.com, or just drop by over at twochairsnowaiting.com and find a way to talk to me. They're all over the place. Guys, have a great Mayberry week, and we'll see you back here on Two Chairs. Bye, everybody.